Some of you came here tonight expecting comfort, but I did not come to comfort you. I came to confront you with the truth, because there are people in your life who are not your friends. They are not for you. They are not with you, and some of them are standing so close to your heart, they've deceived you into thinking they care. But hear me, love is not silence, love is not flattery, love is not tolerance. Real love wounds when it must, real love warns when danger is near. And I'm here tonight to expose the dangerous behaviors of those who do not care about your soul, even if they wear a smile, even if they clap for you, even if they pretend to stand beside you. If you won't open your eyes to this now, you may lose more than time. You may lose purpose, purity, even your peace. So I urge you, for your own sake, for the sake of truth, listen, not for me, but for the war being fought over your life behind the scenes. You need to know the 8 behaviors of people who do not care about you, because once you see them clearly, you will never be deceived again. Some of you have surrounded yourselves with people who praise you constantly, and you think that's love, but I'll tell you what it is. It's a trap, a lie. Wrapped in charm, they flatter you not because they care about your well-being, but because they care about keeping you weak, manageable, and blind. Do you really think the people who never challenge you actually love you? No, love doesn't always sound sweet. Love sometimes raises its voice. Love doesn't always pat you on the back. Sometimes it grabs you by the shoulders and says, "You're destroying yourself." The people who only ever compliment you, especially when you're wrong, are the ones you should fear the most, because they're not praising your strength. They're celebrating your downfall quietly, strategically. Flattery is the tool of manipulators, the weapon of the selfish. They don't love your soul. They love what your brokenness provides for them. As long as you stay insecure, you'll need their approval. As long as you stay wounded, they can play healer. And as long as you never grow, you'll never outgrow them. That's the game. That's why they never confront your sin, never correct your drift, never challenge your complacency. Because deep down, they don't want you whole, they want you dependent, and here's the terrifying thing. Some of you call these people your best friends, your inner circle. You trust them with your secrets, your hopes, your future, and they smile while you drown, because your destruction doesn't inconvenience them. It secures their control. This isn't friendship, this isn't loyalty, this is manipulation disguised as encouragement. Think about it. When was the last time they spoke truth that hurt? When was the last time they saw you drifting and lovingly pulled you back? Or do they just nod and clap while you walk off a cliff? If your friends are never offended by your sin, it's likely because they've grown comfortable with it. Worse, because they benefit from it. You don't need more fans. You don't need more cheerleaders who are only around when the spotlight's on you. You need warriors beside you, people who will go to battle for your soul, even if it means risking your friendship. The ones who say, "I love you too much to let you destroy yourself." That's love, that's truth, that's rare. But today we're surrounded by flatterers. We live in a culture where truth is offensive and lies are marketed as kindness. And some of you have bought the lie that if someone criticizes you, they must be against you. No. Sometimes the harshest words come from the deepest love, and sometimes the smoothest words come from the darkest intentions. Listen closely. There are people who will affirm you all the way into compromise. They will celebrate your rebellion because your rebellion makes them feel better about their own. They'll never rebuke your decisions because they've silenced their own conscience a long time ago. And now they want you quiet too, so they flatter, they distract, they applaud you for things that should bring you to your knees. But truth doesn't flatter. The truth breaks chains, and sometimes it breaks egos. If someone can never tell you no, if they can never call out your pride, if they never challenge your lifestyle, then they're not your friend. They're your fan, and fans will leave you the moment your performance stops. You know who cares about you, the one who weeps when you sin, the one who prays when you stray, the one who would rather lose your friendship than let you lose your soul, the one who says, "I saw what you posted and I'm concerned. I heard what you said and I'm praying for your heart. I love you, but that's not who you're called to be. That's real love." Rare love, but it's the only kind worth trusting. So ask yourself, who surrounds you, do they make you comfortable in your compromise, or do they push you toward conviction? Do they nourish your pride, or do they call you to humility? Are they helping you carry your cross, or are they convincing you it's too heavy to bear? Because there are people who will say all the right words with all the wrong motives. They'll sing your praises while chaining your potential, and if you don't wake up, you'll confuse their flattery for friendship, you'll confuse their silence for support. But the truth is, They don't care about your growth. They don't care about your calling. They don't care about your eternity. And the saddest part, some of you already know. Deep down you felt the emptiness. You felt that their words are hollow, that their presence disappears the moment you bleed. But you've convinced yourself it's better to have fake support than to walk alone. Let me tell you, no, it's not. It's better to walk alone in truth than be surrounded by liars in comfort, because when the storm comes, and it will come, you'll find that flattery doesn't anchor you, only truth does, so don't confuse constant praise with real love. Don't mistake loud voices for loyal hearts. Real love tells the truth even when it hurts. Real love wounds to heal. Real love says, I'd rather offend you into freedom than flatter you into bondage. And if someone is always telling you what you want to hear, chances are they'll never tell you what you need to hear. Let's talk about something else now, because it's more common than we care to admit. There are people in your life right now who don't care about you, not truly, not deeply. They use you, they drain you, they take and take and take, and then vanish the moment they're asked to give. Oh, they'll be near you when you're winning, when you've got something to offer. Maybe it's your attention, your influence, your gifts, your resources, but they're not investing in you, they're extracting. They don't show up to pour into your life. They show up with a bucket, and every time they leave, you're emptier than before. They love to feed off your fire, but they'll never help you build it. They draw from your well, but never drop a bucket back in. They'll sit at your table, eat your bread, laugh at your jokes, and leave you with the dishes. And the next day, you won't hear from them, unless, of course, they need something again. That's when they remember your name. Don't confuse proximity with love. Don't assume that because someone is around you, they're for you. Judas was close to Jesus too. People can be physically near and spiritually absent, and some of you are surrounded by people who have learned how to mimic loyalty, but it's not real. It's survival. It's selfishness, and the moment you stop being useful to them, they'll find someone else to feed on. Ask yourself, who comes around when I'm weak, when I have nothing to offer, when I'm broken, when I'm quiet? Because those are the moments that reveal real love, not the ones who show up when the lights are bright and your name's in the air. I'm talking about the ones who see your wounds and sit with you in silence, the ones who don't need a stage or a spotlight to stand by you. But users don't know how to love like that. Their loyalty has terms, their care has limits, their commitment is transactional. They'll ride with you until the road gets rough, then they'll call it boundaries. They'll say, I need space, or I'm going through my own stuff right now. But when you had nothing and still showed up for them, there was no talk of space, no talk of boundaries, because they never loved you. They loved the benefits you brought, and it's easy to spot them if you stop making excuses. Look at the pattern. When you're in need, they vanish. When you're in crisis, they go silent. When you're under attack, they're nowhere to be found. But when you're celebrated, suddenly they're front row, smiling, shouting your name, because now your light gives them shine. Some of you are exhausted not because you're weak, but because you're surrounded by leeches. They're not friends, they're parasites, and the scary thing is, they know exactly what they're doing. They've studied you. They know your kindness, your loyalty, your patterns. They know you're too afraid to say no, too compassionate to pull away, and they've weaponized your goodness against you. This is why you feel guilty for setting boundaries, why you feel selfish for resting, because they've trained you to believe that loving them means giving until it hurts, and then giving some more. But real love isn't abusive, it doesn't deplete, it doesn't manipulate. Real love reciprocates, it gives and gives back. It doesn't count favors, but it remembers them. It doesn't demand everything while offering nothing. Think about the people you go to when you're heavy, who listens without interrupting, who prays without posting about it, who checks on you without needing a reason, who gives without keeping score. That's love, that's family, that's what you should fight for. But users don't know how to be those people because they've never grown past their own selfishness. They've built their lives on what others can do for them. They see relationships as ladders, not bridges. So the moment you stop elevating them, they'll step over you. Some of you are grieving friendships that were never friendships. You're mourning loyalty that was never real. You're blaming yourself for losing people who never should have been in your circle to begin with. Hear me, just because someone walked with you for a season doesn't mean they were assigned to your destiny. Some were only meant to reveal your weakness. Some were only meant to expose your boundaries. And some were sent so you'd finally open your eyes to the difference between love and exploitation. There's a reason the prodigal son had so many friends in the far country, and none when he was in the pig pen. His money bought their loyalty, but when the money ran out, so did they, and yet it was the father, the one he walked away from, who loved him enough to run toward him when he came home. That's the picture. The ones who love you for you, not what you provide. So stop begging to be noticed by people who only see you when you're useful. Stop losing sleep over people who sleep just fine after wounding you. Stop apologizing for setting fire to bridges that only led to your own destruction. Your worth is not found in how much you give to those who never pour back. You want to know who cares about you. Look for the ones who stay when there's nothing left to take. The ones who show up empty-handed but full-hearted, the ones who give without keeping receipts. That's how you know, that's how you see clearly, because love is sacrifice, love is presence, love is action. And if someone's love disappears the moment you're empty, it was never love at all. Some people think that silence is kindness, they think staying quiet is wisdom, but I want to tell you something. Silence can be deadly. There are people in your life right now who claim to care about you, but they don't speak truth to you. They never correct you, they never warn you, they never challenge you, and that's not love, that's not protection. That's abandonment. You see, when someone loves you, they tell you the truth, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it costs them your approval, even when it creates tension, because love doesn't look away when you're walking off a cliff. Love doesn't stay quiet when it sees you bleeding. Love speaks, love warns, love says that path you're on, it leads to destruction, but the people who don't care about your soul will let you keep going, smiling all the way. And I want you to hear me clearly, with holding the truth is not mercy, it's betrayal. If I see you on fire and I say nothing because I don't want to offend you, I've just participated in your destruction. And that's what some of the people around you are doing. They're watching you drift. They're watching you compromise. They're watching you trade your purpose for popularity, your calling for comfort. And they won't say a word because they love your approval more than your soul. These people say they care, but when your choices become dangerous, when your words start to poison your testimony, when your life starts to drift off the narrow path, they go silent. They retreat. They say things like, "It's not my place," or "I just want to support them." No, that's not support, that's cowardice, that's selfishness, that's indifference hiding behind fake love. Let me ask you something. Would you call a doctor loving if they found cancer in your body and said nothing because they didn't want to scare you? Would you trust someone who saw the brake lines cut on your car and stayed silent because they didn't want to ruin your day? Of course not, but some of us are surrounded by people just like that. People who see what's wrong but say nothing. People who smile while you decay. That's not friendship. That's betrayal with a grin. Truth is costly. Speaking truth takes courage. It risks rejection. But it also reveals who really loves you. Because the one who speaks the truth, even when it hurts, even when it makes things messy, that person is loving you in a way the world can't understand. And if someone never tells you the truth, then they value peace over purpose, comfort over correction, image over integrity. And here's the twist. Some of these people are the ones you think are the nicest. You've called them safe, you've called them chill, but they're not safe, they're silent, and their silence has allowed things to grow in your life that should have been uprooted. Their silence let bitterness take root. Their silence let pride bloom. Their silence told you that your compromise was acceptable, and now you're bearing fruit you were never meant to bear. Don't confuse passive presence with real care. Anyone can sit beside you and say nothing. But it takes real love to speak up when you're wrong. It takes someone with a backbone and a broken heart to say, "What you're doing is not who you are. What you're chasing is going to cost you everything. What you've normalized is still sin." But people who don't care about you won't say that. They'll watch your downfall like it's a show. They'll nod and smile while you crumble. They'll repost your photos, but never address your wounds. They'll compliment your talent, but never question your character. Because as long as you're entertaining, they'll keep clapping. But when it's time to get real, they disappear. That's not love, that's exploitation. And some of you right now are thinking of people who have never told you no, and never told you stop, and never told you this isn't good for you. You thought that meant they trusted you, but maybe it meant they never cared enough to stop you. Maybe it meant they were only there for the version of you that made them comfortable. Truth tellers are rare. And sometimes they come wrapped in rough packages. They might not say it the way you like. They might not always get the timing right, but they love you enough to say something. They love you enough to look you in the eye and say, "I can't watch you do this to yourself." Do you have those people? Or have you pushed them away because the truth made you uncomfortable, because it felt like judgment, because it challenged your pride? Don't mistake conviction for attack. Sometimes the words that cut the deepest are the ones that heal the most. And if you're the one staying silent, ask yourself why. Are you more afraid of offending your friend than watching them walk into ruin? Are you protecting their feelings or your reputation? Because silence is not neutral. It speaks loudly. It tells them, "I don't care enough to stop you." And one day, when the dust settles, when the damage is done, they'll wonder why you never said anything. I'm not saying truth should be harsh or cruel, but it should be present, it should be spoken, because truth is the only thing that sets people free. Not comfort, not compliments, not silence, truth. So if someone refuses to speak truth into your life, even when it matters most, they don't love you. They love your image. They love the version of you that doesn't need correction. But they don't love your soul. Because silence in the face of danger is not love, it's betrayal. There's something we need to talk about, and it's this: when someone consistently makes your pain about them, they are not loving you. They are using your wounds to center themselves. And when people do that, it's not just selfish, it's cruel. Some of you have walked through real fire. You've been hurt, bruised, betrayed. You've reached out, maybe in a moment of rare vulnerability, and what happened? Instead of someone listening with compassion, they redirected the moment back to themselves. They made it about their emotions, their needs, their opinions. You were bleeding in front of them, and somehow they found a way to make your pain inconvenient for them. And maybe you didn't notice it the first time. Maybe you made excuses, they're just overwhelmed, or they're not great with emotional stuff. But over time you started to realize something. Whenever you're in need, they pull away. Whenever you're struggling, they change the subject. Whenever you're vulnerable, they get uncomfortable. And instead of being a place of refuge, they become another place where you feel like you have to perform. Another place where you're not allowed to be broken. Listen carefully. People who care about you don't resent your pain. They don't sigh when you cry. They don't get distant when you're struggling. They don't make you feel guilty for needing comfort or embarrassed for being weak. They don't turn the moment around and say, "Well, I feel like you're being distant," or "This is hard for me too." They don't make your lowest moments about their minor inconveniences. There are people who only want to be close to you when you're happy, when you're strong, when you're put together. The moment your emotions get messy, the moment your heart cracks open, they don't know what to do, so they back out. Or worse, they guilt you for it, and when that happens enough times, you begin to internalize a lie that will kill you slowly. My pain is a burden. That is what they teach you by their behavior. Not directly, but in 1,000 subtle ways, they condition you to believe that you can only be loved when you're strong. But that's not love, that's performance, that's conditional acceptance, that's the kind of love that looks good in public and disappears when the curtain closes. Some of you are carrying around years of bottled-up pain because every time you tried to open up, someone made it about them, and now you've learned to stay quiet, you've learned to smile through grief. To laugh through anxiety, to nod and say, "I'm good," when your soul is falling apart, and you think that's strength, but it's not strength, it's survival. You've been surviving in relationships that never made room for your humanity. And that's not what real love does. Real love stays, real love listens, real love sits in the silence with you and doesn't need to fix you. Real love doesn't say, "Why are you still upset?" It says, "You don't have to hide here." It doesn't grow impatient with your struggle. It doesn't roll its eyes when your sadness comes back. It's not waiting for you to get better. It's holding your hand until you do. But people who don't care about you will weaponize your emotions. They'll say things like, "You're too much," or "You're always emotional," or "I can't deal with this right now." And instead of comforting you, they make you feel like your sadness is an attack against them. They make your grief feel like a crime, and slowly they push you into silence. They may not leave physically, but they disappear emotionally. You feel it. You feel the distance. You feel the coldness. You feel the way their affection dries up the moment you're not pleasant to be around. And yet you still try to please them, still try to be strong for them, still try to hide your mess, hoping they'll come back around if you can just stop being inconvenient. But real love doesn't make you shrink. Real love doesn't ask you to mask your sorrow. It doesn't fold its arms and say, "You're still not over that." It opens them and says, "We'll walk through this together, even if it takes time." You see, love bears burdens. Love carries weight. Love walks through the dark valleys, not just the sunny hills. If someone claims to love you but disappears when your joy disappears, they never loved you. They loved your smile. They loved your strength. They loved what you gave them emotionally, but they didn't love your soul, because if they did, they wouldn't run the moment your soul cried out. Some of you have been surrounded by people who punished you for your pain, and now you're afraid to ever feel it again, afraid to tell the truth, afraid to cry, afraid to ask for help, and I'm telling you, that's not how it's supposed to be. You were not created to carry everything alone. You were not designed to be strong every day. God placed people in our lives to reflect His love, and His love never walks out when we break. If someone consistently refuses to sit with you in your suffering, if they consistently make your pain about themselves, then they are not safe for your soul, and you need to know that, you need to believe that. Because your pain is not a nuisance, it's not a burden, it's not something shameful, it's part of your humanity, and anyone who resents it doesn't really care about you, because love doesn't abandon you when you're broken. It kneels beside you and says, "You don't have to go through this alone. Let me tell you something that's hard to hear. If someone mocks your convictions, they do not respect you. If someone constantly belittles the things you believe in, your faith, your standards, your morals, they are not for you. They may smile in your presence, they may laugh like it's all in fun, they may even say, 'I'm just joking.' But listen to me closely. Mockery is not affection. There are people in your life who will disguise their contempt with sarcasm. They'll call it humor. They'll say they're just keeping it real. But what they're really doing is slowly grinding away at the foundation you stand on. Because here's the truth. You don't attack what you admire. You don't mock what you honor. You don't make light of something you truly value. So if someone is constantly taking jabs at your walk, your values, your standards of purity, your choices to live differently, don't be fooled. That's not love, that's not friendship, that's opposition in disguise, and I know what the world says, "You're too sensitive." It's not that serious, but it is serious because words have weight, they form atmospheres. They change how you see yourself, and when someone keeps chipping away at your convictions with their jokes, their cynicism, their passive-aggressive comments, it begins to dull your edge. You start second, guessing. You start shrinking. You start wondering, am I being extreme? Am I outdated? Maybe they're right. That's how compromise starts, not with a dramatic fall, but with little cuts, little laughs, little eye rolls. Until your once bold convictions become negotiable and your boundaries blur in the name of peace. But don't you dare trade the fear of God for the approval of people who never cared about your soul. Don't water down your fire to make lukewarm people comfortable. If they really cared about you, they would celebrate your convictions, not mock them. They would honor the stand you're taking. They'd be challenged by it, not hostile toward it. Some of you are walking on eggshells around people who are supposed to be your closest friends. You can't talk about what matters to you. You can't express your spiritual hunger. You can't share the weight that's on your heart. Why? Because you know the moment you do, it'll be met with sarcasm, with teasing, with that sideways comment that tells you, this part of you isn't welcome here. That's not safe, that's not love, that's a spiritual war happening in plain sight. And if you're not careful, you'll start editing yourself, you'll start dimming your light, you'll start hiding your passion, all to keep the peace with people who have no peace in themselves. And let me say it plainly, if someone needs you to be spiritually dull in order to be close to you, they are not your people. You can't afford to let people poison your clarity with mockery. You can't keep opening your heart to voices that tear down what God is building in you. Because mockery is not neutral, it's corrosive, it's designed to wear you down, to make you feel foolish for standing for something when everyone else is bowing. And I don't care how close you are. I don't care how many years of friendship or family connection there are. If someone ridicules your values repeatedly, if they scoff at your standards, if they roll their eyes at your devotion, they are not safe. You can still love them, you can pray for them, but don't deceive yourself into thinking that what they're doing is harmless. It's not because words are never just words. They shape you, they frame your decisions, and over time they either push you closer to God or farther away. And when you let someone stay close who constantly mocks what you hold sacred, it creates inner division. A fracture, and that fracture turns into confusion. That confusion becomes discouragement, and before long you're drifting from the very thing that used to give you strength. Don't let the enemy use someone else's voice to make you question what God has told you clearly. Don't tolerate mockery just because it's wrapped in a smile. There is nothing funny about watching your fire be mocked by someone who would rather see you blend in than burn bright, and I know it's hard. Especially when it comes from people you love, when it comes from family, from old friends. You want to stay connected. You want to keep the peace, but let me ask you something. What peace is it really if it costs you your convictions? What kind of friendship survives only if you pretend to be someone else? Some of you are sacrificing your boldness on the altar of acceptance, and deep down you know it. You've gone quiet. You've stepped back. You've stopped speaking truth, and it's not because your convictions have changed. It's because someone kept mocking them until you felt too tired to defend them anymore. But you need to rise up again. You need to stop apologizing for the passion God put in you. You need to remember that compromise never leads to connection. It only leads to confusion. You are not responsible to make others comfortable with your calling. You are responsible to guard it, to protect it, and to walk in it without shame, because those who truly care about you, they will never mock your devotion. They will never laugh at your pursuit of holiness. They will never belittle your hunger for righteousness. They may not fully understand it, but they will respect it, and if they don't, then they're not walking with you. They're standing in your way, because mockery isn't just disrespect. It's proof they don't care who you're becoming. You can tell a lot about a person by how quickly they leave when you stop serving their agenda, and sometimes the most painful revelation doesn't come when people betray you. It comes when they simply vanish. Quietly, without explanation, without even the courtesy of a conversation. One day you stop giving them what they wanted, your attention, your energy, your usefulness, and suddenly they're gone, just like that. And if you've ever been through that, you know exactly how it feels. There's a confusion that settles in first. You wonder what you did. You replay every conversation. You search your own heart trying to find some offense you might have committed. But deep down you realize the truth. They weren't drawn to you because of who you are. They were drawn to what you provided, and when that stopped, so did their commitment. Let that sink in. They didn't love you. They loved the role you played, the emotional support, the encouragement, the platform, the access. And when you stopped being a resource, you stopped being a priority. It wasn't personal. It was transactional. And that's one of the most brutal kinds of pain to process, because it makes you question every connection you thought was real. But this isn't new. This isn't rare. It happens every day. People don't always walk out when you hurt them. Some walk out when you stop benefiting them. And that's when their true loyalty is revealed. Not when you're strong, not when you're successful, not when you're making them laugh or filling their emptiness. But when you can no longer give, when you're empty yourself, when you're weak, dry, and have nothing left to pour, Some of you know exactly what I'm talking about. The moment you needed someone to carry you, they vanished. When it was no longer about their needs, their schedule, their story, suddenly the texts stopped, the calls went unanswered, the energy shifted, and you realized they were never in it for the long haul. They were there for the benefit, not the bond. But I want you to hear me. That kind of love isn't real. That's not love at all. That's convenience. That's self-interest. That's consumption. And you don't exist to be consumed. You don't exist to be someone's emotional vending machine. You don't exist to carry everyone else while no one carries you. You are not here to be drained and discarded, and if someone left the moment you stopped giving them what they wanted, then let them go, because people who love you only when you're useful don't love you. They love themselves, they love their comfort, they love the version of you that served them, but they never embraced your soul. They never stayed long enough to know the parts of you that couldn't perform. The tired parts, the broken parts, the silent struggles, and this is important, because if you don't recognize this pattern, you will spend your whole life overextending, trying to keep people who were never meant to stay. You'll keep performing, keep pouring, keep sacrificing, hoping it will make them stay longer, but no amount of giving will ever satisfy someone who only showed up for the gift and not the giver. You cannot build lasting relationships with people who only see you as a source of what they need. Because the moment you become empty, they'll move on to the next person who can provide, and I know that sounds harsh, but it's the truth, and it's a truth that can set you free if you're willing to face it. You need people in your life who stay when you have nothing to offer, people who see past the platform, past the strength, past the smiles, people who see the weariness in your eyes and don't flinch. People who say, even if you never do another thing for me, I'm not going anywhere, because that's what love looks like. Love isn't proven in seasons of overflow. Love is proven when the well runs dry. When the storms hit, when the benefits stop, and if someone left when that moment came, don't chase them, don't beg them, don't lower yourself trying to win them back. Their absence was a revelation, not a loss. You were never created to keep people at the cost of your own peace. You were never meant to strive just to feel worthy of staying in someone's life. If their loyalty is based on your output, then they've never seen your value rightly. And you deserve more than that. You were made for covenant, not convenience, for communion, not consumption. So stop apologizing for being human. Stop trying to earn love by performance. Stop clinging to people who only clap when you're useful. If they walked away when you were empty, let them. That's not your burden. That's not your guilt to carry, and I need you to hear this clearly. You are not hard to love. You're just surrounded by people who never learned how to love deeply. Love doesn't walk away because you're exhausted. It doesn't disappear when you need space. It doesn't fade out when you stop entertaining. Love remains. Love shows up. Love sacrifices. But the ones who vanish the moment they can't use you anymore. They were never really with you to begin with. They were traveling the same road, but they were never going the same direction, and God, in His mercy, allowed the drought to reveal the difference, because when the well runs dry, the fake ones walk. But the real ones dig deeper.